Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 3 replays in the American Tier 8 Tech Tree medium tank, the M26 Pershing. If you do like the video as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the M26 Pershing. This is your pick, #6, you know the series where we play the tanks that you ask for. And today we're playing the M26 Pershing because Mike Keeley asked for a few games in the Pershing. So here we are playing it, and the Pershing is one of those that is one of my old school favourites. This was my very first Tier 8 medium tank that I actually played through in this game. Goodness gracious me, that was probably 8, 9, 10 years. That was probably 8, 9 years ago, something like that. Because I mean, I got to the M48 pattern when it was still the M48A1 pattern before it changed to the M48A5 pattern, which it lost the giant tumour on the turret and gained what it basically is now. It didn't even have the turret armour buff back when I got it. Before, because basically what happened to the M48 pattern is it had the M48A1, then its turret wasn't very good, and then they buffed it, made the turret actually really solid, but it still had the tumour, and then they made the M48A5 pattern, which had no tumour on it anymore. But I ground it out back then, and I played through the Pershing, and it was one of those vehicles that I did just click with. I did thoroughly enjoy playing this vehicle a lot, and throughout the years it has gained a lot of buffs to try and keep it up with the meta, you know, with all the other buffs, to try and keep it with power creep in general, and it's still a pretty decent Tier 8 medium tank. It's not an absolutely phenomenal tank, but it's fully capable of dealing with most things it'll come across. Naturally, it'll struggle in a matchmaking setup like we've got here at Tier 10, but again, your gun's still fantastic. You've got good penetration across both rounds, you've got decent DPM, your view range is pretty decent, your camo's not the greatest, but it's also not the worst, your mobility's alright. It's one of those vehicles that just is an all-rounder, and that's pretty much what the American mediums generally are. They're fairly decent all-rounders, where they're sort of jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. It can still be a pretty solid tank to play. And what'll end up happening is I'll probably end up making a video on the Rocket Pershing. In fact, you know what, that's a good idea. I should probably make a video on the T99 Rocket Pershing next, after this. Because then you can get a little bit of a comparison between the two as we go through that vehicle, which I do have a few replays to show anyway in that tank anyway. So there's pretty good timing, honestly. Yeah. We should have it as a Your Pick #6 addendum episode or something like that, I don't know. Anyway, so the M26 Pershing. It's got a 50.4 km/h top speed, 21 km/h reverse speed, 739.2 horsepower engine, which is 17.22 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you get to the top speed fairly easily. We have helped it out to get up to that 50.4 km/h top speed with the turbo, but yet again, this vehicle is quite flexible in the setups you can have. You can run the turbo, which will help your engine power. It'll make your top speed that slightly bit better, and it'll make you that little bit more mobile and feel that little bit nicer with its mobility. But you could quite easily drop that and put the improved concealment on instead, right? There's plenty of different ways you can actually set up this tank, quite honestly. You've got 20% internal fire chance, which is on the higher end of fire chances, and yeah, this tank likes to burn, so you've got to be very, very careful of that. 1.73 on soft, 1.05 on medium, and 0.86 on firm. Pretty solid ground resistances, don't hold the tank back too badly. 44 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, with a 43.81 degree a second turret rotation speed, which means the tank turns pretty quickly on its tracks, and it snaps its turret onto target pretty quickly too, which is also pretty nice for the M26 Pershing. You've got 335 metres of still concealment, with 360 metres of on-the-move concealment, which means when you're moving this vehicle, the concealment isn't that great at all. But when you're stationary, the concealment is meh. Right, that's the way I describe it. It's not bad, but it's meh. But if you were to run the improved concealment, you would knock the concealment down to about 315 odd metres with the crew and equipment setup that I actually run, because I still do run camouflage expertise and green thumb, because they are quite nice to have for a situation like you're seeing here in this area where we've got lots of bush cover, and we can just make that concealment that little bit nicer in these areas and make it that little bit harder to get us spotted. Because naturally the thing with the Pershing is that the armour on the hull is not really worth anything. It can side scrape, but it's not really worth anything, and the turret armor is also one of those that can get you some nice ricochets, but at the same time you don't want to truly rely on it, because most vehicles will also go through it if they don't hit the gun mantlet, so you've got to be very, very careful of that. You've got 489 meters of view range, which is fantastic. Really helps to spot for yourself in the Pershing, which is lovely, and it means you can get some very good assistance damage game, as you're already seeing so far in this replay in the Tier 10 game. to 1.04 accuracy during rotation with a 1.51 accuracy during movement. Now that's helping the gun out as much as possible. The accuracy during movement is actually not too bad, but the accuracy during rotation isn't great. And that means when you turn the turret, the aim circle does bloom out quite a bit, like you're seeing here. But when you're on the move, yeah, the aim circle's not too bad. But to counter that, to be honest, you've got a 1.73 second aim time, which is absolutely fantastic. And it means this gun aims in very, very quickly and is absolutely lovely for that. It is a pretty damn nice gun, this 90mm gun. Again, it's had lots of buffs over the years, and this wasn't even the original 90mm gun for the tank. But yeah, it's had lots of buffs over the years, which have made it very, very nice to play, as it also has a 0.32 accuracy at 100 meters as well, which makes it a very accurate gun when you are fully aimed, which again is very, very solid for the Pershing, as we're taking some very questionable shots. But there we go. I also couldn't believe that I couldn't see this Frost Warden, by the way. I'm sitting there going, how am I not seeing it? I've got 489 meters of view range. I'm pretty sure he's not firing in the open, but also the bush cover I'm around and I'm behind from about 10 meters also help him in the way that they're helping me. So I'm just trying to blind fire him. But yeah, we've got that 0.32 accuracy, which means this gun is very accurate when you do get it fully aimed. 10 degrees of gun depression is very, very flexible on a ridgeline and is lovely for the Pershing, quite honestly. And it's where you want to be in this vehicle. You want to be hull down, you want to be using the turret armor, so you're limiting the amount of chance people actually have to shoot the hull armor, which isn't that great. And then you have the chance where you can accentuate the turret armor by using that 10 degrees of gun depression, make, you know, the angle better, essentially, for what people will be hitting it, and make it more likely that people are going to ricochet. But again, it's not like the T26E5, which is a jumbo Pershing, essentially, or something like, say, the Centurion 1, to go to another old-school Tier 8 tech tree medium tank, right, where that turret armor is very, very solid and will bounce you a lot. This one will more than likely get penned if it does get hit, but again, you do have that bit of give in it where it can just ricochet some shots, which is pretty good. You got a 5.85 second reload on this 90mm gun, which is 2,460 DPM, which is pretty decent DPM for a Tier 8 medium tank. 221 penetration on the standard AP is pretty average, if we're honest. It's fairly average penetration for a Tier 8 tank. 268 penetration on the premium APCR is enough to go through most tanks' weak spots that you're going to face, even Tier 10s, which is why the gun is pretty nice for that. And you've seen it in this replay, except for that ricochet on there, but that's because we actually hit the turret roof, not the actual machine gun port. But 268 is enough to go through most of the weak spots of most tanks you're going to face in this vehicle, which is pretty good. Obviously, you're only really going to struggle with something like a mouse or a Type 5 Heavy, which at the same time, you should really try to find shots into the side of those people at that point. But you got 45mm of pen on the HE, which is not the best HE pen in the universe, and generally, yeah, that's only going to be used on lightly armoured artillery. There's not much you're going to have a chance to use it on. 240 alpha on this vehicle actually starts to feel a little bit low at this day and age, because quite a lot, and it's the same as the Centurion 1 with the 230 alpha, right? There are quite a lot of vehicles these days that used to have 240 alpha, very similar to you, have 280 or 300, which is really weird, but there we go. But 240 alpha, as we finish that first game with the Lever Schleiler's medal, the first class, the 1744 base XP with the 2000 damage, the 4k assistance damage. Really nice game there for the Pershing in a Tier 10 lobby. And again, the tank's fully capable of those sorts of things. You just got to play it more as that support medium tank where you're not, again, being the focus of Tier 10's attentions, because that's where it's going to go downhill. But if you can keep being a nuisance like we were in that game, where we picked up that nice defensive location, we were able to keep spotting for our team and just keep poking over and getting odd shots into people, you can have a really good time with the Pershing. And it's the same even in a top-tier lobby, realistically. It doesn't really change that much depending on how you play. It's just that you get a little bit more give out of the turret armor against Tier 6s and 7s, but generally, even so, a lot of the Tier 7s go through your turret armor anyway if they don't hit the gun mantlet. It's just that you have more chance to ricochet shots, right? It's one of those. You've got 975 meters a second shell velocity on the AP, 1219 meters a second shell velocity on the APCR, and the same on the HE as the AP, round at 975. So you're slightly below average in terms of your shell velocity on the AP, but the APCR is very nice velocity indeed, and you don't have to give quite as much lead at distance to be able to hit your targets with that. And yeah, that shell velocity, you'll feel a massive difference in it when you do load that APCR round, because it is just that little bit better. Now, the one thing that does go with this vehicle is the fact that you do have the stock gun, right? And the stock gun could actually be the better gun for the tank. So you're seeing it with the top gun, right? And the top gun is really solid. But if you're happy to be a gold spammer and fire pure APCR, the better gun for this vehicle will be loading the 90mm M26. Because you have 190 pen on the standard AP, which struggles depending on the matchup you're in, and can be a bit of a pain. But you got near enough the same shell velocity, only about 50 meters off of it compared to the top gun. Your premium pen, however, is the same as your top gun, your fully upgraded gun, which is 268. So you have that same penetration on the premium rounds, and that is really solid penetration. You've still got the 240 alpha, you've still got 1219 meters a second shell velocity, which is really solid. But your DPM actually goes up. You get 2,662 DPM with the 5.41 second reload. You get 0.31 accuracy, so it's more accurate. Your accuracy during rotation and movement is better at 1.0 and 1.46, respectively. 1.82 second aim time is slightly worse, but with better dispersion values, the aim circle doesn't bloom out quite as badly anyway, and it's still very, very good. So realistically, for the Pershing, if you were thinking about 3-marking this, or you're playing through it and you wanted that little bit extra DPM and you're happy to just fire APCR, that is always an option. That M36, the stock gun, which is what it is now, it never used to be the stock gun, but it is now, is the better gun for the tank in terms of DPM, accuracy and all that good stuff. It's just you don't have very good standard pen for tier 8. So just, you know, something to think of for your Pershing grinds, essentially, is that the stock gun is actually really good. But there we go. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment for the old Pershing-arino? Well, I run situational awareness, born leader, run and gun, snapshot, camouflage expertise, green thumb, radio jamming, expert gunner, and armor angling with the advanced loader, the gun stabilizer, optics, and the turbo. Turbo to be able to get up to the 50 kilometers an hour top speed and give me that little bit extra oomph in the engine. But like I say, that is fully swap outable with the improved concealment, which will knock you down to more like 315 meters of still concealment and knock you on the move concealment down as well, which is really, really handy. But I run the turbo just to get that extra mobility out of the vehicle. Snapshot and run and gun in conjunction with the gun stabilizer just to get the best out of the accuracy during rotation and movement. Camouflage expertise and green thumb to get slightly better camo, as well as better camo while in concealment, which again helps me to stay unspotted for longer, which can be pretty handy. Radio jamming to get unspotted at that 3 seconds faster. Expert gunner to increase the chance of doing module damage by 6%, as well as decreasing the effective distance on my penetration by 25%, handy for the APCR rounds. And armor angling to just reduce the amount of damage coming to the tank by 5%, because I tend to be quite aggressive in the Pershing, and like I say, the armor on it is one of those that generally it doesn't hold up that well, so the likelihood is you're going to get penned, so reducing the amount of damage coming to the tank is always handy, and obviously the advanced loader just to get the better DPM in the tank, because having the better DPM is always nice to have realistically for the Pershing. But again, plenty of different ways to get out the vehicle. It's really down to you and how you want to set it up, how you're going to get the most out of it, all that good stuff. As I say, you could definitely set up for that better concealment build by running the improved concealment instead of the turbo. That's definitely an option, as like I say, that gets you 315 meters of still concealment, sorry, and 340 meters of on the move concealment, which is still not amazing, but it's a lot better than it was and helps you to stay unspotted that little bit easier. But it is really down to you and how you want to get it out, as what I run might not work for you. So, the second replay that you're seeing here on this map, we are really struggling to pen the KV2. And it's because I keep moving. I was realistically just trying to aim. I mean, we finally go for the shot into the underside of his turret. He pens us with AP, which is... I sit there going, eh? He actually penned us through the side of the turret there with AP. 136 pen. Sure, buddy. You go with that. But yeah, we managed to stroll around on that map, which was Great Wall, get the Brothers in Arms, the first class, the high caliber, with 3.2k damage, 5 kills, 1,009 assistance, 1626 base XP. Really solid game there for the Pershing on Great Wall in a nice matchup. We're on to the third and final replay of this video, and this time we are on this map, which is Vineyards. And on Vineyards, what I want to do from this spawn is what I tend to do from this spawn, and that is great driving me, by the way. Fantastic driving, wonderful crashing into an IS-5, but there we go. But that is go along the A line, so I can go to A5, use the 10 degrees of gun depression that this vehicle has, try and use the 489 meters of view range as well, and I can try and spot people that sit at the back around A7, 8, 9. If no one is really there, I can push aggressively straight over into the dip at A7, B7 area, and then try and spot the people that do camp at D8 as well, because then my campers, or my people that might be sitting back a bit further at A6, can also try and deal with them, get me some assistance damage, and, you know, just basically progress the game, because this map can be one of those that can be a bit of a stalemate sometimes. So if you can make the aggressive plays early, you can push this game on very, very quickly, because the thing that doesn't do well for our team is going to the JK line. If you go to the JK line, it just tends to be a horrible fight, and they have all of the key positions, which then they win if they don't play like fools and be too over-aggressive, right? So I like to go this way because I can control my own destiny on this map. And that is I can try and win this hull-down fight and then get going and try and get into position to spot the rest of their team. So we've already got some shots into a Tiger 131. We've got a tracking shot into the CS53-56 Wojciech, which, as you can see, with the DPM that we have, we actually can permatrack that dude, as he's not burnt his repair kit yet, and we are reloading in time to keep him tracked there on top of the ridgeline, which hopefully means we'll be able to finish him off. And it's beautiful that we can actually just permatrack that dude. It's like, hello, dude! How are you? Unfortunately, we take a shot from him, but we did manage to take pretty much most of his hit points as he was trapped on the ridgeline there. And with him gone, now we can focus on the Tiger 131. We do have a Chrysler K that's come in with us, and it's like, hello, Mr. Chrysler, you are here to help. Let's get this ridgeline won. Unfortunately, we missed the shot on the Tiger 131 Scapola. That one was never going to go in. That's just a hopeful shot. And again, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and that was one of them. We unfortunately hit the gunmantler, which is probably the only place that we truly could bounce on the Tiger 131 on his turret, because we were trying to go for the cupola. This time we get the tracking shot on the KV3, put another one in, and that dude's also not running track mechanic, which means we can perma-track him. If these guys, like the C53-56 Wojciech and the KV3, were running track mechanic, we could not perma-track them like this, which is why I always say, especially if you're heavy tanks, run track mechanic. Medium tanks, like the CS53-56 Wojciech, I'm less likely to run track mechanic, but a heavy tank like the KV3, especially, absolutely run track mechanic, because then you wouldn't get in a situation like what just happened to Mr. KV3, which was getting absolutely perma-tracked and then losing all of your hit points because he clearly already burnt his repair kit. Or he had an unreusable repair kit, and so naturally he'd already used it and therefore was just stuck in that situation, which again, run track mechanic because it saves you from that position that he was in. So now we've won that fight with the heavy tanks, we can now progress this flank. It is 11-11, so currently this game is fairly well poised in terms of the tanks left alive, although the HP is down by quite a bit. We've got 54% HP, they've got 46. So you can already see that they're down on HP, but they've still got the numbers. But again, HP isn't everything, because they could have 10% HP and still win the game, even though they've got 11 tanks left, right? Because their guns are still in the game, and if they keep managing to find a decent position to keep whittling people's hit points down and pick up kills and that sort of stuff, that's how you win the game. It doesn't matter whether you've got 1 HP or you're full HP, you can still do 240 alpha damage if you're a Pershing, right? You can still do that damage consistently, whether you have the HP or not. So you always want to try and get rid of the guns out of the game, because, I mean, again, we're down on HP, but we're now down on tank. Sorry, we're winning on HP, but we're now down on tanks. That's how it goes, right? So, yeah, anyway. We're up to 2 kills with 3,012 damage, 862 assistance damage. We know there's an Ariete in front of us. Now, we've got to be careful of the Ariete, because naturally that guy has a 3-shot auto-reloading clip, and that 3-shot auto-reloading clip is enough that he, if he rolls high enough, could just kill us. Also, Mr. T-54E2 in front of us was a danger, because he's got a 3-shot clip, which he could definitely have clipped us out, but thankfully he took quite a few shots, which put him down to a 1-shot, and we finish off the T-54E2 for our 3rd kill of the game. We're now going for shots into this HWK-12, and quite frankly, aiming super badly, as we didn't manage to get any shots into him. That's where firing the APCR round could actually be a little bit nicer for the Pershing, because we'd have had the better shell velocity, which would have made hitting that shot at distance that little bit easier. Now, we went for the pen shot, but the track and the pen into the Ariete. Thankfully, we tracked him, but we didn't actually pen him, so he still did take a shot of damage from the TD directly behind me. But again, I'm being wary of that Ariete, because he could, foreseeably, clip me out if I'm unlucky. So I am trying my best to not get stuck into that guy. We're trying to now blind fire the positions. You can see where the tree's down. Look, we're just trying to blind fire these positions. And see, because we know there's normally camping TDs. They've got 2 TDs left, 2 medium tanks and artillery. Artillery tried to blind fire us, by the way. Okay, sir, calm down. Calm down, calm down. But anyway, so we know where one of the medium tanks is, but there's 2 TDs that haven't been spotted for God knows how long, so we were just trying to blind fire them, see if we could hit them, because again, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And if we'd hit one of them, maybe we'd have dissuaded them from shooting our friends, or maybe we'd just got extra damage, that sort of thing. So we did end up spotting the Ariete, but we didn't get the chance to be able to get a shot into him, or he didn't get the chance to get a shot. I was just double checking what was behind me. It's T25/2, that is full health. So again, I'm very, very cautious of going after the Ariete, because, you know, it's one of those things that it could just go pretty badly. But I think, okay, you know what? Screw it. I'm going. I'm just going to chance it, see if we can get any shots into him, and see what happens. So we don't find him around the corner where I was expecting him, but we do find him here. We get the shot into his side, put him down 713 damage. Thankfully, he ricochets off my upper plate, but we take a hit from the other side. But he low rolls, and then he manages to put us down to 100 hit points, but we can survive to fight another day. And he's now a one-shot himself. So we poke over, put the shot through his turret front, and finish him off for our 4th kill of the game. It's a sad time we did take a hit from the guy on the hill, though, because with that one ricochet that we got off the upper plate, that meant that we could survive every single time. We get very lucky there that the GW Tiger Pig, the long boy, because it's a very long artillery, it's long boy, that the long boy didn't actually end up finishing us off there. It's very, very lucky indeed, but it did land about a mile away. But again, that thing has massive splash damage, so yeah. And we did manage to get a shot into him as well, which is even better. We're up to 4.6k damage now with that shot into the M12. 1084 assistance. That M12 is the last one alive, and he gets shut down by the LTTB. And we finish the game with a really nice total there for the M26 Pershing. We finished with the victory. 4 kills, 4.6k damage, 2029 base XP. Very nice game there for the M26 Pershing, with Jason carrying us through as our crew to the victory. So yeah, that's the M26 Pershing, Mike. We've got there. I'll say I'll probably actually, yeah, sounds like a solid idea. I'll make a video on the T99 Pershing next as well, and then you can see between the 2 tanks what the like is. I love the M26 Pershing. I do love the Rocket Pershing as well, because the Rocket Pershing is basically the M26 Pershing, but with added rockets. And who doesn't like rockets? So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!